Morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Thursday, April 18th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card, we are starting our day off with today, 7 of Pentacles in its reversal. This is why I keep telling everyone not to feel like you're letting yourself get energetically triggered right now. Because one of the things that we're seeing that is so important and valuable at this time is the fact that we see that there is that sensation or that feeling of wanting to take some point of energetic action. And in a way, this is actually very positive to see right now in relationality to what we've been experiencing, especially in some of that disparity that we were seeing between masculine and feminine energy right now. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine energy, we did see that there's been some kind of period of introspection, as it were, being able to assess and articulate upon what you feel you need to energetically change or shift that's going to allow you that sense of having an energetic breakthrough. This ability, again, being able to be energetically prescriptive, as it were. As I mentioned, not going to masculine like with something that is almost like energetically half-baked, but almost being able to go towards the masculine right now from a state or space of having done all of that internal work for yourself. The ability and identification point of being able to like show the masculine where you are, being able to articulate upon those energetic options. We like seeing this card here because this is identifying that for a lot of the feminine energy, that ability, giving someone the energetic space that is required. This is that moment that if that required that like stillness point, this may be feeling like it's starting to energetically bear that fruit. While for masculine energy right now, there is that moment or modality that we are also seeing that, again, we want to amplify that this could be those feelings of energetic frustration that you may be having at this time. Because what happens? We've got feminine, right? We've got feminine that's basically coming down, like diving for pearls, if you will, right? We've got the feminine that's going like deeper and deeper on their own journey to try to identify and understand something in a better way. So we see even now, this is almost the feminine energy going like, whoop, I've got it, right? And coming back up to the surface. While for masculine energy, this is potentially that energetic feeling, if you will, in relationality to feeling that sense of energetic frustration. And I'm going to say it right now, masculine energy, because this is the type of energy that just is going to like frustrate the heck out of a lot of the masculine energy today. This is the problem with some of these retrograde periods. I'm going to say this to you emphatically. Just because you can't see something happening doesn't mean it's there. Just because you can't see something happening right now doesn't mean that it's energetically there, because we see even now that this could be feeling about some energy of like feeling frustration or like difficulty here for the masculine, because we see here like what happens when we're coming into that like modality of energetic spring. That's that moment of building up on like the frustration to a certain extent in relationality to looking at like what you've been doing and being like, where is it? Like, where is it? Have you ever looked at a pot? Have you ever looked at a pot and waited for the water to boil? Don't do that today. You're going to drive, if you concentrate right now on what you're energetically waiting on, you're going to like make yourself batty. You're just going to make yourself batty. Don't do that today. Instead, masculine, this is a really good time. If you're feeling like you're coming into that state of frustration and patience, focus on something else. Focus on something else. Because this is saying to me that something is happening here that you can't energetically see, right? So that recognition point of saying to oneself, I need to be energetically patient. I need to understand that just because if I've been putting seeds in the ground, it doesn't mean something isn't coming up. It means that sometimes the work of a good gardener is recognizing and waiting, coming into that sense of cultivation. It's going to be hard right now for the masculine energy because we saw yesterday that so much of that energy wanted to come into an activation point to help navigate some of that energetic heaviness, and also the combination of the energetic heaviness and that feeling of energetically looking back. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union frequency right now. This is that moment that, again, and I need to say the possibility of being energetically triggered right now is still very high. Because I told you even now, That is the feminine energy, like diving down, continuing to be introspective, right? And masculine is almost like building that intolerance of energetic patience. So this is the type of work right now that's going to feel like a little bit more of a breakthrough point for the feminine, while it may be feeling more of a point of effective frustration for the masculine, right? Because that's that sense of doing something energetically under the surface. So for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this has more to do, again, with navigating how you communicate and build with someone in a moment. This is really funny because it's just much more practical for the energy coming into divine union. How do you tell someone you don't want to do something in a way that like doesn't effectively hurt their feelings is what I'm getting. But this is that moment that feels like something that feels like it's energetically productive. Because a lot of this is coming into that state or space of trying to amplify, to say to someone, I'm almost seeing here that sense, and again, I'm going to bring it up, that sense of giving someone energetic space to play while also amplifying that one might not feel energetically inclined to be moving in the same way on the journey at the moment. So for feminine, it may be, again, working through some of that inner child wound, if you will. If you've like pulled forward or offered something to the masculine that you may have a lot of vested interest in, and the masculine's kind of like, it's not really my cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like it's going like this. But in a way, like what's beautiful about this, it has more to do with the fact that I'm telling you even now, a lot of the energy of the masculine right now feels like they're playing some kind of energetic catch up. So being able to be a little bit like mindful of that right now is going to be effectively important to a certain extent, because we see even now, that is that moment of being able to, and this is what's going to help facilitate positive or productive communication during this time. It's not just enough to say to someone, I'd rather not, or I can't, but being able to unpack and to explain energetically why is going to help facilitate something here. Because we see even now that for the feminine energy and the masculine right now, this is almost the feminine energy feeling, again, the inner child wound potentially rising up and saying like, well, especially if this is, this is what's, I can already, like, guys, please don't fight today. Like, don't let there be any kind of, like, disruption points. Because I can almost see the feminine saying, like, again, like, if I put my interest, like, feminine is very easily inclined in putting their interest in spaces and places that they don't feel the same level or degree of energetic investment. And masculine, I can always see the masculine saying right now to a feminine to a certain extent, like, no, it's not that I don't want to do that. It's not that I'm not capable of doing something so that I can kind of be with you in something. But it has more to do with the fact that the masculine, I'm going to say it again, feels like they're running behind, or there's a lot of frustration and anxiety right now that's motivating a lot of the masculine energy. So again, just being a little mindful of the fact that you're both feeling a little bit of that frustration today, but you may be having it in different zones, is going to be very helpful to anything that may feel like it is energetically triggering. Because I can see even now, this type of energy could feel like everyone is on like a little bit of like a short, everybody's like on a little bit of a short fuse today. Still, I mean, again, it's a retrograde. We're not surprised about this. Masculine and feminine energy that's in separation right now. That short fuse is what is amplifying and propelling the energy forward. Remember that slingshot effect I told you about? We're actually all feeling like, we're all just feeling the echo of like the energy and separation releasing the slingshot. This is energy that's just moving forward on their energetic journey right now. Because this is the energy that, again, just came into that state of karmic understanding, being able to take the value of a karmic lesson from the past and being able to apply it going forward. So we see that a lot of that energy in separation is just kind of using this moment to move forward, right? Like that's just that movement moment. So we're seeing and recognizing right now for a lot of that energy, this is that moment that you're just like going for it. I told you, that's that point. I told you the slingshot is all about helping you. Like when we utilize that slingshot energy in the right way, it focuses us. It helps us build that sense of energetic purpose that then drives us forward with a lot of that sense of energetic concentration and understanding. So we see even now that a lot of the energy in separation is like this is like the cutting of some karmic cords here. This is just like that release moment that's now amplifying and allowing to a certain extent that ability to move forward, having learned and understood the lessons that you need to carry with you as you go. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is Queen of Wands in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. this is what we're effectively seeing. This is actually, again, now it's nice. Now it's like okay, now congratulations, energy and separation. You're having like your day today. Like the energy and separation. The energy and separation is just like, la, like, because for the feminine energy, this is that valuation point of being able to say to oneself and saying like, okay, I know what the energetic lesson is that I need to learn from a circumstance or experience from the past. I just need to take, who put this bar down here? I need to pull this bar up. That's ridiculous. This is supposed to be up. This was supposed to be up the whole time. Who put that there? Just like lifting it back up and putting it there. Like is that moment of lifting the bar that suddenly becomes like, helps like, like that's that moment of the feminine coming into a state or space of energetically like remembering their own sense of worth. So we see even now that that's a lot of the feminine energy saying like, again, and this is the feminine energy saying, well, the first way I can identify someone like recognizing my worth is not making me be in a state of space or energetically waiting. Like that's the feminine energy saying like, again, if this is feminine energy that was waiting on something, this is feminine energy almost going, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Why am I waiting for something? Like, this is the feminine energy going, I just got to pick this bar up and keep moving. Like, oh, wait, this is like, and that's so we see even now that that's a lot of that feminine energy. Just kind of like, again, I want to say like, this is feeling like a little bit of like energetic dust off, if you will. This is like the feminine energy, like energetically like dusting off to a certain extent and saying like, okay, well, now I know. Like that's the feminine, like coming into that sense of like understanding and recognizing who they are. And that's a lot of that feminine energy and separation to a certain extent. And I want to say I'm getting like kind of like that sense of like a breath of fresh air to a certain extent for a lot of that feminine energy. Because that sense of like karmic understanding is like something that feels like, it feels like it's really amplifying your own ability of energy. Like this is you coming into that state or space of being like, I need to embody the version of self that utilizes a high degree of energetic discernment. So this is a lot of that feminine energy, like manifesting that higher, like that higher aspiration of self that is almost guiding you forward on that journey. What I like so much about a lot of the feminine energy in this modality is this doesn't feel like putting on a false version of self. This feels like coming into that habitation point of almost connecting to that higher version of self that's helping you recognize like what you energetically want to do in the moment, by like adopting that adopting that sense of understanding, right? Like that's what healing looks like. And it's hard, but that's the feminine energy coming into that sense of energetic resilience as they do so. For masculine energy, if in separation right now, this is a lot of the work that we see that you're also doing, because we see that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, we see that there's a lot of deep energetic shifting that is potentially happening right now for masculine energy in separation. And for a lot of the masculine energy in separation, this is that moment that feels like that focusing point in relationality to what one is effectively moving towards right now. And one of the things that we really appreciate about this right now is, again, it's not the fact that the masculine energy is changing their own self for the sake of the counterpart energy. But this is a lot of the masculine energy, as it were, working on understanding the manifestation that they hold for their ideal feminine energy, right? So that is really beautiful here, because we see even now that if there's any moment right now of masculine feeling some sense of energetic uncertainty, this is almost the masculine energy, as it were, taking this moment or opportunity to really focus their intentionality in terms of who they see the divine feminine as, like what that aspiration point is, and utilizing that effectively to a certain extent as that moment, like being able to almost recognize that within, to see that energy, like that energetic signature within, is what is helping to build that determination point on what you need to adjust and modify without. So we see even now, this is really beautiful, because this is a lot of the masculine energy recognizing that journey is one of discovering like that ideal like feminine within the self, because that's the moment of, again, feeling the sense and recognition point of identifying and saying like, what do I aspire and desire of a counterpart, that sometimes helps build that sense of understanding and saying, well, I must work to move towards that as well. Because that is that moment of, again, feeling like if we move in that state or space of energetic amplification, that's not something that we externalize outwards, but that's something that we embody within to be able to find the energetic counterpart. Energy coming into divine union right now. Energy coming into divine union right now. It's a lot easier said than done. This is like the energy of the masculine coming into divine union, being like, you were a lot better in my head. Like, no. No, I mean what I'm actually meaning here. Here's the thing about it that I think is really like, this is the thing that's really funny, because this is that moment to a certain extent with masculine energy that, like, if you're moving into like a deepening energetic connection with feminine, like even now, it's a moment that it feels like it's energetically challenging, right? It feels like it's always energetically challenging. But what happens for the energy in the divine union? If there's a state or space of something that is energetically challenging, this is almost the masculine energy feeling the joy, like feeling the radiance or abundance of joy, because it almost feels like something that is a joyful challenge, right? Like that is that moment that even in moments that it feels like it's energetically difficult, it almost feels like a delightful difficulty, because that's that moment that, again, you don't like, even I'm going to put it like this, the difference between having a conflict and an argument is the difference between two energies that want the same things and potentially have different ways of going about it, versus the energy of like moving, like desiring completely different directions, and then like feeling the tug of war of pulling against each other as you're trying to move each other in different ways. So even now, the fact that the masculine, even if there's some kind of conflict energy that's happening right now in the coming into divine union, it almost feels like a joyful conflict, because that's that moment that feels like the amplification of, again, being like, there's a lot of different ways to do something. And so even now we see that it feels more like that energy of, like, I want to say like birds chirping or bickering to a certain extent, because this is the feminine energy that has a very specific way that they like to energetically do things. So even now it may feel like there's that sense of like, even if there's some kind of argumentation in this frequency, it doesn't feel like it's energetically negative, because it's, again, it feels like non-consequential arguments are like the word of the day today, like almost those like petty conflicts, if you will, because a petty conflict is really like, again, having a little bit of like pickiness on something that does not feel like it carries a lot of energetic weight. So that's actually something that's a positive for the energy coming into the divine union frequency right now, for the masculine and feminine, right? Because again, this is the feminine. I just need to stress right now, for the feminine energy to a certain extent, something about this, that it feels like, if, again, I have to stress, this is a feminine energy, and this is the only thing I'll say to the feminine energy right now that's in this modality. Make sure that you're not too picky today. That's all I'm going to say. You know who I'm talking to. Whoever this is I'm talking to, you know that I'm talking to you, because it's saying to me that in a way, like, there's something about this energy that the feminine is already like, they're already in that state of like, it's like having, like, they've already kind of like moved in a way, and then being like, but another thing, you know what I mean? It's giving me a little like, but and it's like, don't like, don't do that. If you're in that space or place, please. Okay, because we see even now that there may be something about that may like rise to the surface today. Masculine and feminine energy that are like coming into the divine, that are in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This is what could effectively or energetically feel. This could feel a little bit more dense in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, because a lot of this may feel more like the feminine energy has to help the masculine right now through any of those feelings of energetic frustration that they may still be feeling, right? Because whatever this energetic introspection that we see is occurring right now with the feminine energy, like, this is something that the feminine has almost like, again, it feels like a little bit like the feminine's path work, like they've already kind of moved through a little bit of that energetic hurdle within the self right now, right? So being able to understand that, being able to recognize that, this is why we see the value and importance of these energy. This is why I need to stress this is the beauty of working in the divine union frequency, because it's not a moment that we're always energetically in lockstep. It's that when we need something, the energy is often there to provide it to us. So we see even now for the masculine energy that is feeling some sense of frustration, they're feeling some sense of, like, uncertainty in relationality to something that they're working on, or feeling the retrograde, like really pulling them back right now and creating that frustration point. What is the feminine doing? The feminine energy is acting as a clear mirror to the masculine. The feminine energy is saying, don't get upset. The feminine energy is saying, be patient. The feminine energy is saying, just because you can't see it under the ground doesn't mean that it's not coming back up, coming to the surface. This is the season for that to happen. We're literally in the retrograde. You have to utilize your sense of energetic patience, even if it's feeling energetically frustrating. The masculine immediately feeling the gift of, again, building a sense of a feminine energy that feels confident enough in their own journey that they're able to help the masculine through theirs when it becomes energetically difficult. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here the 6 of Pentacles in its reversal. This is the retrograde energy. This is the retrograde energy, right? And this is the masculine, like needing to kind of be like, you know, like, again, helping. Look, what is the feminine energy doing right now? A lot of orientation right now of the feminine helping the masculine through some difficult path work right now, because this is the masculine. Like, look, this is what do we see that's happening right now with the masculine? A lot of those doubts, a lot of those fears, a lot of those anxieties, a lot of those what ifs. What if? And what's the feminine energy doing? The feminine energy that the masculine has been doing this work with, helping the feminine energy come into their own energetic resiliency. What happens when the masculine is feeling low? There's the feminine to give the lesson that the masculine embedded in the feminine back to the masculine, saying, what if? What if that happens? It's okay, right? You've got other seeds. Look at all these seeds. This is the feminine going, helping the masculine, saying, keep going. It's okay. Don't get caught. Don't get caught worrying. Don't get caught struggling. Don't get energetically caught looking at the past, feeling the frustration, letting that wear you down. Don't let that bring that sense of deactivation at a moment when it should be amplifying that energetic sense forward. So what did we see yesterday was happening, right? Yesterday, we saw that yesterday masculine was trying to pull the feminine and saying, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And now the masculine is feeling like that same energetic sink. And now the feminine's going, come on, you can do this. You've got this, right? So this is how these energies work with one another to a certain extent, because we see here that this is the gift of, again, when we work with each other, when we continue to facilitate that sense of helping us find each other's highest self. That's not that moment of energetically like moving away from one another. That's that ability of being able to pull through and allow that to motivate us each forward, in those moments when the other energy energetically needs it. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is why I'm saying that, again, I'm just going to put it this way, for the feminine energy coming into divine union, just be very mindful again right now today of being, I want to say, energetically picky, right? Like, I mean that in the most loving, kind fashion to any of the feminine energy right now that is coming into the divine union frequency. I mean this with every piece of love in every fiber of my being. But please make sure you're being very mindful. If you're getting a little princess in the pea, there's a difference between being an energetic princess in the pea, where that can be useful, right? Like, there's the differentiation point in recognizing what feels like something that is energetically disrupting that you want to catch before it becomes a bigger issue, right? When we have I'll put it this way. When we have important things, right? When we have important things, the ability to discern something and address something before it becomes bigger, that is a gift. But when we take that valuable lesson and we start applying it to things that are not necessary, that can be an over amplification of that energetic lesson. Because that can be a moment that you're being like almost being like a little obsessive in terms of trying to like get something energetically perfect. So we see even now that a little bit of that disruption point that is happening right now for the energy coming into the heart of the divine union frequency is almost having to remind some of the feminine energy that sometimes good, like I'm just getting the message, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Like, done is better than perfect is almost like what I'm seeing to a certain extent. So don't let yourself get so fastidious right now that you're not recognizing the fact that you've like moved into a state or space of feeling some kind of like having something like in a way that it can energetically work. Because we see even now that the only area of conflict I'm identifying for some of the energy coming into divine union frequency right now is the masculine feeling potentially, because again, I told you the masculine's in this vibration right now. They've got a lot of energetic heaviness on them. So that's why I mean now is not the time to be going towards a masculine energy with something that feels like it's not mission critical. Like if you go towards masculine today with something that they feel is not like really mission critical, like it's almost going to create like, that's why it like ask, like saying to someone today, I'm going to say like, do you have the bandwidth to talk about something? Feminine, you may be experiencing a lot of masculine being like, to be perfectly honest, I don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's almost that type of energy that we're seeing right now. So just be a little mindful of that. And I think that that's, again, a lot of the way that the feminine can try to look towards the masculine in that moment and say like, how can I energetically support you at this time? But that's the thing, that's the ability of these energies to come through into a space, a place of being able to help one another. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the energy of the feminine that's effectively moving forward. Like this is just the feminine energy to a certain extent right now. Just looking, feeling that sense, like I want to say like it's that spring like energy coming into a certain extent that's like amplifying to a certain degree for a lot of the feminine energy right now, that need or ability to be able to like, I want to say like, get back in your energetic headspace, if you will. Like there's a lot of this like, you know, sigh of relief that we're almost seeing here to a certain extent for a lot of the feminine energy. And I feel like a lot of it is just amplifying this sense of like, I told you, this feminine energy has been doing a lot of like energetic or spiritual pearl diving, if you will. And this is the energy having, you know, had that sense of energetic completion, like being able to retrieve something. I'm going to put it this way, like being able to retrieve something from the past that is allowing that sense of amplification in the present. So we see even now that that's a lot of the feminine energy almost saying like, I'm tired of energetically waiting for something. Like this is feminine energy that was feeling like they've been waiting for something. This is a lot of the feminine energy saying, I'm not waiting, it's over. This is the feminine energy saying, I'm not waiting. And then feminine energy recognizing, saying, it's over the minute I feel like I'm not waiting. Right? Like that's like a little bit of that point of the feminine saying, oh yeah, it's over as long as I start feeling like I'm not waiting, or I'm not willing. And the feminine almost saying to themselves in separation, the minute I'm not ready to wait anymore is the minute I stop energetically waiting. Right? And so that's a feminine kind of like, again, not feeling like energetically, like this is bittersweet for the feminine. You can see this. Look how bittersweet this is for the feminine in separation, you know? But this is almost that sense of the feminine, almost like looking at it from an active energetic reciprocity, kind of being like, you know what I mean? Like that's that moment of feminine being like, I did everything the feminine almost coming into the state going, everything you can do is all you can do. And then once you've done everything you can do, then everything's fine. Like all you can do is everything you can do. And this is the feminine going through that cycle within their own self going, did I do everything I could do? Yes. Did I double check my work? Yes. All I can do is everything I can do. And, you know, that's the feminine energy coming into that sense of feeling that sense of energetic completion. Masculine energy in separation right now. This is a lot of that energy in separation that is working through situations and circumstances wherein you have reached, again, another moment. This is a lot of the energy of masculine in separation. Remember I told you a lot of that masculine energy was reaching that moment of identifying, feeling that pathwork, finding that internal purpose, and really just saying to oneself, am I taking this lesson to the past? Is this the pathwork of restoration with an energy now that I see something that I would adjust in the present that I didn't see within myself at that time? Or is this something that I'm taking with me in the future in order to facilitate and go forward in that? And a lot of that is just a lot of that masculine energy, figuring out, again, calibration, where that destination is, who that destination is, either that energy of the manifestation of the feminine that they're seeking, or that sense of being able to go towards someone in that way to try to facilitate that sense of energetic healing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is the Devil card. This is why I'm telling everyone right now not to allow yourself to feel energetically triggered today, because even, I'm going to say it right now, okay? Right now, like these two cards in combination, the 7 of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our 6 of Pentacles in its reversal, it can create that state or space of feeling very, like it's giving me a little bit of that energy to a certain extent, especially for the feminine right now, of like enough is enough is enough is enough is enough, right? Like it's giving a lot of that there, because one of the things that we're seeing to a certain extent is like, it's not, even now it's like the sense of the feminine, like what, like that modality. And I told you, like sometimes we learn energetic lessons and they can feel like they can create that weight of deeper understanding. Sometimes we can feel energetic lessons and they can create that, like, I want to say that energetic fire within us, right? They can create that sense of energetic passion, if you will. I'm going to say it this way for a lot of the feminine energy and separation right now. Make sure that you're putting that passion in places and spaces that feel like it is productive. You know what I mean? Make sure you're putting it in spaces and places that feel like they're not pulling like building that sense of like, I want to say amplifying that frustration, or focusing on what's creating that feeling of energetic frustration in learning an energetic lesson, because that is that moment that again could lead to some of the feminine energy in separation being a little like saying, I'll put it this way, like saying the soft thing out loud. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of that today, because this is a lot of the feminine energy that like when the feminine, like I'll put it this way. Sometimes when the feminine is enough is enough is enough, like the feminine's like enough, like the feminine can sometimes come into that space of like letting a lot of what they're energetically carrying out to a certain extent in a way that doesn't feel like it is positive or productive. So just being able to navigate that right now, feminine, I see that that's going to be something that feels like a little bit of a challenging space today, because again, I told you, it's still that intensity. Like it's the intensity of looking back from the past with the optics or the highest version of self that's there in a way to see something with a different sense of eyes, right? Masculine energy in separation right now, what we're effectively seeing energetically to a certain extent even now is a lot of the masculine energy moving into that state or space. This modality, it feels like a lot of energetic restoration, because for a lot of the masculine energy, if these are moments or situations and circumstances wherein like I'm telling you even now, you're recognizing, if this is masculine energy going through a healing journey enough that you're seeing something in a different way, you're potentially even recognizing past experiences wherein you may have moved in a way that you now realize may have been misinterpreted by those around you, or a moment wherein, for instance, like, having not done that work healing the abandonment wound, you push someone away at a moment of deep intimacy as opposed to a moment that you should have pulled them close. This is why we see even now that, like, this is why the masculine energy to a certain extent, like that's why we see that feeling of trying to like rush through this healing journey to a certain extent, because this is almost the amplification of a masculine that doesn't want to be misunderstood, right? This is either the masculine almost looking towards the feminine energy, if this is something about trying to recover or restore something from the past, and almost being able to see how someone may perceive those moments, being able to understand and see them with a level or degree that you might not have seen them before, because that's again what happens when you heal your feminine, your internal feminine. You can see things from the point of view or perspective of the feminine. You can understand that point of observation. So even now, for a lot of the masculine in this way, if that's that moment of energetic recovery, that's why it can almost feel like that's why I'm saying not letting yourself get caught in that sense of energetic regret, because this is either a moment for masculine of basically looking towards the feminine from the past and saying like, oh wow, I understand what happened between us, and I understand why, and I understand how they must perceive me, or and like really, like even now, like that can feel somewhat like, I want to say, like energetically overwhelming to a certain extent for some of the masculine. Or this is a moment of the masculine trying to go forward and heal that heart of intimacy, because again, the masculine recognizes and realizes that when you're not able to reveal your dream to the feminine from authenticity, feminine can't tell the difference between the energy of the masculine that's too afraid to be intimate versus the masculine energy that withholds their manifestation goal, because they realize that the manifestation goal is not one that can be shared mutually with others. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now, what we're effectively or energetically seeing to a certain extent is that modality wherein we're recognizing, I'm going to say it again, feminine, don't get into a state or space where you're sweating small stuff right now with masculine energy. I know, again, there's really, and I'll put it this way, okay, for the energy coming into divine union. If the something is energetically important right now, I want you to look and ask yourself, is it energetically important? Like, is it like, you know what I mean? Is it fundamentally important? Or is it something that is like energetically small that means a lot to you right now? It's like a very fine line that we're seeing that's happening here with some of these circumstances or situations. And that's why I see even now being able to navigate this here, because what I'm almost seeing right now is the masculine is working through some circumstances or like these are some heavy energy. This is like some heavy energy work that masculine is navigating right now. There's a lot of like anxiety, like masculine's going, it's like this is like a bit of a harder time that the masculine is experiencing right now in the Mercury retrograde period. So being able to like really like make sure, I'd almost say like for a lot of the energy coming towards masculine right now, like almost having that moment before you bring them forward something that you yourself need some kind of like, if you need something from like masculine, make sure that you're asking masculine, like, are they okay? What can you do to energetically support them right now? Because we see even now that the problem, I told you, these energies are still in very different zones right now to a certain extent. And the problem that we're seeing right now is this, the weight of the energetic weight of this Mercury retrograde period in combination with like the eclipse come down is almost like, you know, this is a lot of masculine energy that's getting caught in their own headspace, either in the realms of energetic regret or feeling some kind of energetic frustration in the present. So just make sure that you're a little mindful right now in terms of bringing something forth to the masculine, almost like asking if they have the energetic capacity to receive something prior to bringing it forward. Because we see even now that this can almost speak towards like, you know, miscommunications in the reality of like the feminine feeling a little bit more energetic and playful today, and the masculine being very much in a different state or space. So and that's the same effectively or energetically for the energy in the heart of the divine union as well. The difference between the energy in the heart of the divine union right now has to do with the fact that even now, one of the things that feels like it's an easement point is whatever that point of introspection that the feminine was going through right now. It almost feels like there's been some kind of moment of energetic restoration within the self, while masculine, like they're doing the same exact work in a different way. They're just not like, I want to say they're just a couple, like there's a couple, like they're very just a little bit behind the feminine right now in relationality to that. So just be a little mindful of that today, because the problem with circumstances like this is it could lead to like miscommunications. You know what I mean? It could lead to something like the energy, like the masculine's in such a sensitive place that something that the feminine says like playfully might be misinterpreted today, because they're in such a moment that they're so energetically sensitive right now. So just be a little mindful of that. It's retrograde. I'm not surprised to see that type of energy popping up. Next card is the star energy. So again, masculine and feminine energy right now. You know, here's the thing that like, you know, I got to stress this. Here's the thing that I'm seeing to a certain extent in relationality to like the masculine. Okay. And this is like what needs to be navigated right now, because what's hard, and this is that moment that like can almost become very energetic. Like these are some of the challenges that we experience whenever we're working with counterpart energy. Like if the feminine energy has failed to a certain extent, like they've had some kind of energetic breakthrough right now in relationality to being able to like get a little bit more, I want to say, energetically prescriptive on coming into the solution point in relationality to whatever they were experiencing and how to proceed forward to a certain extent. A lot of the masculine energy is feeling like that's a problem. Like this retrograde period, like this is the feminine energy having like almost like that's this energy right now is facilitating that work in a faster way. But for the masculine, if this is something that you're tangibly trying to push something forward with right now, it can, like I told you, it can almost feel like you're going through some energetic quicksand. Like it almost feels like you're moving through quicksand right now. And that's why we see even now for a lot of the masculine energy, what's difficult about this, and this is why almost like for the feminine, being able to like help the masculine in this way, is the fact that like the masculine they're a lot of their energetic fears are almost like energetically like tied up right now in the heart of the divine union frequency. Like that sensation of doubting the self, if you will, almost feels like it's immediately related to how the feminine energy sees them. And that's why we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy in the divine union frequency, helping to facilitate that sense of reminding the masculine how you perceive them, like helping them remember their own highest version of self right now, is very valuable and energetically important, because we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, there's something about this moment right now that feels like it feels very, I want to say, energetically isolating to a certain extent, because again, it feels a lot like the masculine energy experiencing, I want to say, like that sense of like the energetic difficulty of the retrograde period, where things feel like they slow down, with the combination of like the pullback towards the past. It can feel very energetically overwhelming, right? It can feel very energetically overwhelming. So for the feminine energy to do this type of work right now, and to remind, I think the best thing that the feminine energy can almost say to the masculine is basically reminding them and saying, if you're feeling like this, I've got some good news for you. It's going to pass. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to pass. Like, it's going to pass. And that's why it's so important when we find those modalities, not to let ourselves get caught in that moment, but just do everything we can almost say to ourselves and say, I just need to do what I can to help myself get out of this energetic headspace. And remember that that's just a momentary feeling. That's just a momentary setback. That's just a momentary nostalgia point. That's just, that is like a moment. But like, that's the feminine almost like, again, giving that back to the masculine. And why is the feminine giving that back to the masculine? Because the masculine does that for the feminine all the time, right? This is masculine energy that's done a lot of work helping the feminine recognize their own highest version of self. So what does the feminine do in a moment that they see that the masculine needs that? The feminine reaches their hand out, and this is the feminine almost saying to the masculine, I'm giving you back what you gave me. I'm giving you back what you gave me. I'm not even telling you something that you don't know. I'm reminding you of something that you've taught me, right? So we see even now that that's how these energies are helping each other through anything that feels like that's that energetic hurdle. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into the divine union frequency. This is why we see right now that this may feel like a little bit more like more pecking energy right now. Because again, and this is why I'm going to say, avoid being triggered, but also avoid, I'm actually saying this in a way, feminine energy, avoid, if you see the fact that the masculine energy is in a moment where they may feel overly stressed, now might not be a time to like bring something small or insignificant to them. Because that's one of those moments that if you I'll put it this way, if you bring someone a pea to navigate, like if someone's working on a mountain, like if someone's like trying to climb a mountain and you're like, masculine, what? And masculine's like, what? And you're like, I found a pea. Like there's a pea in the other room. Can you help me with the pea? Like the masculine's going to be like, it's not the time. Like, be mindful. Be mindful of timing right now, okay? Say to someone, hey, where are you? Like, energetically, before you bring something to them like that. Because I'm telling you right now, I can already see it. Like, and I can see these energies being like, feminine being like, I can't, this pee is driving me crazy. And masculine being like, that is nothing. Like I am dealing with this and you're bringing me that, you know what I mean? So it's like, just be a little energetically mindful of that right now. For the energy in separation, masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is that moment, and this I can see even now, feminine, please, listen, I'll just put it this way, feminine energy. I know the feminine energy in separation is going to understand this. If you're having a moment that you're looking back on something and suddenly you're feeling a lot of like energetic fire in terms of recognizing and seeing something in a different way, let that be that moment of like energetic release that allows you to move forward. Like, let that be a moment of not letting yourself get caught energetically and feeling some kind of like, moment that like makes you like, now is not the time to be like digging up a corpse energetically is what I'm seeing. Because it's almost that moment that we see even now, that a lot of this feeling for the feminine is that moment of coming into that heightened level or degree of energetic preciousness to a certain extent. And we see even now like one's own ability to like let that be a point of energetically motivating you forward, right? Letting that be that energetic lesson that, again, one of the things we have to be mindful of is like we can get caught on the past so often. And whenever we get caught on the past, I don't know, like nothing ever positive results from that. It's the ability to let go of the past energetically, letting go of that energetic weight. Then you can take that and take that passion and drive it forward right now. So let that be a moment for a lot of the feminine energy that like moves you forward, instead of coming into that state of like becoming like I'll put it this way, the past is not where solutions come. The future is where everything exists. So being very mindful of that right now, feminine, I feel like that's going to help to a certain extent, because we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy in this modality, feeling that struggle point of potentially, I want to say like feeling like past anger rising up, that sense of like coming into one's own self. Like that is something that we always need to like navigate, but being able to find a way to navigate it in a way that feels like, I want to say like we can take that and we can channel it into spaces and places that feel like it feels restorative, as opposed to like, putting that in that energy into states and places that feel like more like you're just like connecting yourself even further with a past that may have energetically hurt you. You know what I mean? Like be very mindful of that today, feminine. That's what I'm talking about with this retrograde period. Masculine energy in separation right now. This is that modality that I almost see now maybe feeling like energetically difficult, because if you're having a lot of some kind of breakthrough work in relationality to healing your own self, seeing yourself in different ways, potentially even healing enough of your own feminine energy that you can see like your own perspective of yourself through the feminine eyes. That's the problem. Like this is like, I don't want to say that's a problem, but that's the hurdle that we often experience when we come through healing moments, is that our own ability to see something that we couldn't see in ourselves is almost that moment that like creates that need or desire to come into a state of energetic restoration. And we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, that feeling of potentially having done something that you now understand, that you feel like you wish you could energetically restore from the past, or having a moment of not wanting to be energetically misunderstood by the feminine, is almost the masculine continuing to do that work in terms of building that sense of being able to build into the heart of intimacy, to be able to speak towards feminine energy around your dreams. And so we see even now a lot of the masculine energy doing that work to a certain extent is like trying to do so for the sake and understanding of trying to come into some point of rectification with feminine. And that's either the rectification of past feminine energy, something that you're trying to heal from the past, or coming into point of energetic rectification for the energy you're moving forward with, almost being able to like let that new energetic connection be a place or space that like allows that to be a valuable lesson that you may have taken from the past. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Seven of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Wands, clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation. One of the things that we're seeing that's navigating right now for a lot of the masculine energy, and I just need to say this, for masculine energy in separation right now, a lot of this, it feels very, this is a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now, doing a lot of work in relationality to your own sense of energetic confidence, if you will. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of that is a moment of the energy in separation. And this is why I'm seeing this with a lot of the masculine energy right now. It's the feeling like this is, guys, it's just the feeling of the retrograde. It's just like, it's just this energetic feeling. And I want you to kind of be mindful of that to a certain extent. Because again, what are we seeing that's happening right now for a lot of the masculine energy? like across the board. This is happening energetically across the board right now for a lot of the masculine energy. Like a lot of this, like at this energetic slowdown and that density, it feels to a certain extent like that moment that feels like that point of like doubting your own self, doubting your own convictions, right? But what do we see even now? What I think is very beautiful that we're seeing to a certain extent for a lot of the masculine energy in separation. This is almost the masculine energy in separation, finding that point of energetic motivation, even if they're not in connection with feminine, by feeling that sense of saying and this is like, we see a lot of the masculine energy that like, it's masculine energy doing this and being like, I'm doing this for my divine feminine. I'm doing this for my divine feminine. This is really sweet, actually, for a lot of the masculine energy in separation. This is almost the masculine energy being like, my divine feminine would not want me feeling like, my divine feminine would not want me giving up right now. My divine feminine would tell me to get out of bed. My divine feminine would be kicking my butt up the stairs. This is almost the masculine energy. Again, creating that state or space of focusing on, again, their manifest, like in this is like kind of beautiful. This is the manifestation of masculine, even in separation, feeling like they're connecting to their own divine feminine energy, so much so that it's almost like helping the masculine, because that's the masculine almost feeling and being like, I know the feminine would want, like, needs me to get out of this like energetic funk, if you will. So that's beautiful, because that's masculine, even in separation, beginning to heal that connection to feminine. And masculine and feminine energy coming into, well, feminine energy, in separation right now. One of the things that we're energetically seeing to a certain extent is a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now. I mean, this is a lot of the feminine energy in separation that's almost saying to themselves and saying like, and I think that this is what's hard about it, is that for a lot of the feminine energy right now in separation, if there's masculine energy that they were waiting on, I think that this is that moment, even if the feminine energy was feeling that type of energetic connection to a certain extent, this is almost the feminine energy saying to themselves, they're like, if the masculine energy hasn't come forward towards me, like being in separation, that's almost the feminine saying, either that energy is still in a place where they're too energetically afraid to come into the heart of intimacy, right? And the feminine is having all the compassion in the world for that. Or this is a feminine energy in separation going, or they don't have the conviction to do so. And what's difficult for the feminine energy in separation is, again, this is feminine energy looking at that and saying, in either way, it's the same. Regardless of whether this is an energy that's staying away from me due to that energetic fear, like their own fear that's holding them back, or if that's an energy of a masculine that just lacks the conviction to do so. Feminine's almost saying to themselves, and this is the feminine coming into their own resiliency, one is more devastating than the other, but if they both yield the same determination point, it's sad but true. Like, it's sad but true that this is why we have to work to heal, because energy that's moving in fear versus energy that's moving in a lack of conviction, you can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. Feminine's like, they look the same in the wash. They move the same in the wash. If it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, and I can't tell what kind of duck it is, because the actions of the duck, I can't worry about whether the internal mechanism of the duck really is like them moving in a way like that because they're afraid of moving the way that they authentically aspire and desire to be. This is the feminine energy saying, I have to accept that energy that moves in fear often moves in the same way as energy that moves without a sense of conviction. And that's the feminine saying, it breaks my heart to recognize that, but I need to energetically understand that. And that's the feminine almost saying, again, sad but true, right? And that's that feminine energy continuing forward, as it were. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the energy that is coming into divine union that is working through those circumstances and situations. And this is why I'm going to say it again. If you're navigating situations and circumstances right now wherein you are, I'm going to say feminine energy, if you need something from the masculine today, I want you to be very mindful about almost saying to the masculine to a certain extent, is now a good time before you bring something forward to the masculine? Because I feel like a lot of the masculine may say to you with like all the authenticity in their heart, to be perfectly honest, now is maybe not the best time. Because this is a masculine energy that I told you is going through a lot of this. Like, it's like that the weight of this period right now is feeling very energetically heavy for the masculine. So feminine, recognizing that right now, maybe a need or desire to energetically move some conversations. If you want to have like a deep conversation with masculine, today might not be the day. Similarly, if you want to like go over something like sweating some kind of like small thing that's important right now, but like actually probably not like super important, but now might not be the day. Just recognize you might have to like shelve that right now. But that's because it's saying to me the masculine's like out of spoons. They're out of spoons. They don't have any spoons today, right? Masculine and feminine energy that is in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is the energy of the feminine giving the masculine spoons. Feminine is looking at the masculine right now and being like, the masculine needs spoons. Here are some spoons. How many spoons do you need? I got lots and lots of spoons, right? This is the feminine being like, you gave me all of these spoons. I'm giving you back your spoons. I can tell you need these spoons right now. How many spoons do you need? I look, my pockets are filled with spoons because every day you've been giving me these spoons, right? So this is the feminine immediately saying, here, I've got your spoons. But again, that is the gift of being in the divine union frequency. Like when we don't move the energy away from us. That's that moment of building that sense of support to one another, that when we need it, we're able to energetically deliver it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Wands in its upright and our Six of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Pentacles. With our Queen of Pentacles. The funny part about, I don't mean to be laughing about this, but this is the thing that's happening right now. The thing that's happening right now, and I think that this is just the circumstance or situation. Like a lot of the feminine energy right now is, I want to say, less focused on tangibles. They're less focused on tangibles right now. I can almost see this. There's almost a moment that we're identifying right now for the feminine that's like, the feminine is in it, like, this is feminine energy that like I'm just seeing in the divine union frequency right now. Okay, this is nice. This is feminine energy in the divine union frequency right now that's working through, like, has gone through enough of their own sense of energetic stability. And this is due a lot for the masculine, helping the feminine come into this sense of stability for themselves. They don't externalize. This is the masculine. This is literally the masculine that has been moving through this point of helping the feminine energetically and say, like, the tangibles are not an energetics, like, aren't the energetic equivalent of your worth, right? That's almost the masculine that's moving through this whole time and saying to the feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency, I don't weigh your worth by your tangibles. I don't weigh your worth by your tangibles. And what is happening right now with the masculine that's going through anything that feels like they're building anxiety about their own ability to move something forward in the tangible space? Because I told you, the tangible space right now, trying to do something is going to feel a little bit like trying to move through energetic quicksand. This is the feminine energy looking to the masculine and saying, again, what is the feminine saying to the masculine? I don't weigh you based on tangibles. I don't value you based on tangibles. What exists between us is not based on tangibles. So this is almost the feminine energy, again, expressing to the masculine and saying, I'm giving you back that energetic lesson. That's the energy of the feminine, like saying to the masculine, I know you're having a hard, like, I know it feels like this energy right now is like energetic quicksand, but that's the feminine almost saying to the masculine, it's like I want to say, like, lovingly, like, it's so, and like, that's okay. Like, that's fine, because that's that thing, the way of the feminine almost saying to the masculine, when you're like, when things are hard, you don't just think, like, this is literally the energy that masculine had yesterday saying to feminine. Like, feminine is looking at masculine yesterday and being like, were you saying this whole thing about our text don't, move or keep moving? Like, weren't you just saying that? So there was some kind of movie you were talking about with a horse and somebody pulling a horse. The feminine's going, come on. You were just this is the feminine looking masculine like, you were just saying this to me. Like, you were just energetically saying this to me. This is the feminine almost immediately giving back that energetic lesson to the masculine in that moment, right? And that's that ability, that gift that we see that the energy in the divine union frequency is moving towards, because that's that moment of recognizing and realizing that that ability to just be able to give back to someone what they know is within them is like the gift that we give each other by almost like reminding one another of who we energetically are, right? Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that moment that we're effectively identifying for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency right now, that is feeling that sense or recognizing that sense effectively of, and I need to say this again, it is, I'm gonna say this, this is not what we're seeing right now, and this is why I'm stressing right now for the energies to make sure that you don't inadvertently trigger something, because feminine energy is more in a state or space of feeling a little bit energetically lighter right now. This is feminine energy that has more of that space or state of wanting to be energetically creative, of wanting to be energetically communicative right now. Masculine is not in that modality right now. Masculine is feeling a lot of that energetic pressure from this time, like during this moment. So making sure that you're not bringing, like, the ability right now for feminine to say something that may inadvertently trigger masculine, even coming into divine union right now, is very energetically high, because this is that moment. And this is why I see even now, making sure feminine, if you're bringing something to masculine today, you almost need to say to them prior to that, is now a good time? Because that ability to do so might be a moment of masculine saying, like, to be perfectly honest, now might not be the best time, because this is the masculine energy that's moving through that moment in relationality to feeling some sense of energetic anxiety that they're navigating through, in relationality to like having a lot of that focus right now in the tangible space or place. So being able to be a little bit like energetically mindful of this, like, because this is one of those moments that the feminine may try to bring something, like something, if there's something small here that you're bringing to the masculine may sometimes may feel a little bit like that's like, it's giving me a little bit like the straw that like broke the camel's back to a certain extent today. So just be a little like careful about that today. Make sure you're careful about the straws that you're putting on the masculine energy. Okay. Continuing to get clarification for the energy right now in separation. A lot of that feminine energy right now, what we're effectively seeing and recognizing is for the feminine energy in separation right now. This is a lot of work of the feminine energy in separation, focusing, calling forth or calling back a lot of their energy right now. And what's difficult for a lot of the feminine energy is the fact that, like, I have to say, a lot of this feminine energy in separation is just in that modality of, like, again, this is the feminine energy saying, feeling, I want to put it this way, like feeling the energetic frustration point in relationality to giving to situations or circumstances that feel like they didn't give back to them in kind. Like, that's almost that moment that we see now that is so energetically difficult, because this is why I'd say even now, please, 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 feminine energy, do not let yourself get caught in that state or space of feeling like, looking too much on the past right now and letting that just be a place where you're burning your fires out. Because this is that moment of looking back at something and feeling like that imbalance, right? The imbalance that you can't correct. Looking back at the past and being like, I can't believe how much I gave something and it didn't even feel like it was reciprocal. Like, that moment can feel very energetically overwhelming, but let that be something that, again, builds upon that key of wisdom. Let that be something that you recognize and see that you're able to take the valuation of a lesson in that helps propel you forward, rather than becoming something that you feel like you're like, just hard, you can't energetically change the past, but I tell you right now, you can spend the rest of your life focusing on the past. You can make the rest of your life a moment where you just cling to the past. That's the problem with our own energetic journeys. So I want you to ask yourself, feminine energy, if you're feeling like that, do you want to spend your time and energy focusing on energetically navigating through a past moment, or do you want to find that let that be a moment of energetic release to a certain extent, and say, what can I do to move forward from these moments? What can I do to amplify that energetic sense of healing? Because we see even now there's something about the feminine energy potentially overthinking upon these right now that is very characteristic of this time period. So don't let that be a moment that you're energetically triggered and you almost move out of your own highest version of self due to that sense of feeling that like energetic frustration from the past experience or circumstances. Whereas for masculine energy right now in separation, if this is a moment or modality wherein you may be looking back at something and realizing and recognizing, having come into a point of energetic pathwork where you see that you're already making some tangible changes in the present, this can feel very energetically difficult too. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. Again, same message, in regret for the past. Remember that the beauty of the present is it gives us that ability to balance. The solution to the present is that it always creates a state or space to be able to rectify the past. If you're coming into a space of regret, congratulations, I've got some great news for you. Welcome to the present where anything is possible. So having that ability to recognize and identify, not letting yourself get caught in the modality of regret, but letting that almost motivate and amplify an ability to come into either restoration with energy if you see something there that you want to energetically fix, or utilizing that pathwork to serve that sense of an energetic lesson going forward in a space or place you feel like you can correct something. That's that moment to a certain extent that is, again, allowing for something that may feel like a trigger is being struck to be something that feels more like that sense or energetic sense of letting it amplify your own ability to move forward from it. Continuing to get clarification on this Six of Pentacles in its reversal right now in combination with the Devil. One card to clarify, please. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with Judgment. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's the retrograde. Judgment in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is why we see the possibility of having what could amount to some very triggering energy today, because it's not the fact, and this is actually why the retrograde periods are here. The retrograde periods effectively come through to a certain extent. They help us come into that space of being able, I told you, it has a purpose. A lot of this energy effectively is creating that state or space right now wherein you're being able to energetically revisit the past right now. But for a lot of the energy, if you're doing that work, the optics of the present are the reason you're bringing back the past is because you're perceiving it in a different way. That's the gift of the present. It gives you the ability to see something with new energetic eyes. So for feminine energy, if feminine energies come into that state of energetically finding their higher version of self or raising their energetic standards, you can imagine how frustrating it is to look back into the past and be like, I got some notes. Because again, it's that moment of seeing something in a different way that can almost feel like that sense of energetically amplifying something that we're energetically feeling in the present. So we see even now that a lot of the feminine energy, I told you that redirection point in seeing something and looking for something within the self to heal from. That's the difference between feeling like that sense of trying to find something to correct for it with internally versus looking something externally and saying like, oh, I've identified the locationality of the problem. Like what often happens when we externalize that, when we set our standards, is that suddenly we see something in a very different way. And we identify and recognize that for a lot of the feminine energy, that could create a sense of feeling a lot of energetic frustration in relationality to past experiences, because your own experience in observing them from the present may make you feel like something, whereas like it feels like there's some kind of shift in relationality, not to something that you need to energetically heal within, but something that you are energetically healing from. So being able to observe that to a certain extent is why we see even now, when we're trying to energetically heal from something, probably don't put all your time, effort, and comfort. Like if you're sitting there and you're like, if you're angry, like, you know what I mean? I have to put it like anger is the poison that we feed ourselves, right? It's like we just pour it back into the thing that we're angry about. So like letting that be a moment that you just like let it be that energetic release point to a certain extent. I feel like that's the difference between feeling that sensation and just feeling like a lot of like frustration around something, as opposed to allowing it to kind of motivate you forward from a point of energetic healing. While masculine energy, if in separation right now, masculine energy in separation, what we're effectively or energetically seeing to a certain extent, a lot of this masculine energy in separation, this is that moment that feels very energetically difficult, because this could be a moment that you're seeing, like I'll put it this way, if you're healing your own connection with the self, if you're working on healing your own abandonment wounds, it can feel very difficult, because not only can you not necessarily energetically change the past, but you're also seeing something from the past in a way that you can identify and experience and have some energetic notes. Having some energetic notes on something that you did in the past, like that's the gift of the future, being able to be in that present moment. And that's why we see even now, like for a lot of the masculine energy, that weight, that energetic weight of wanting to come into some point of energetic restoration with the knowledge and the understanding of where you find yourself at the present. A lot of that is almost creating that sense of trying to identify like what direction to move into. Because this is the ability of looking back at the past and understanding something in a different way, seeing something in a different context that's helping you energetically heal something. So we see even now, like that's either a moment for a lot of the masculine energy, either going back to a past circumstance or experience to try to rectify like what you're identifying and seeing how someone might energetically see you, and trying to come into some point of healing that rift, or a moment or situation or circumstance wherein you're trying to let that lesson of the past motivate you forward in a way that you feel like you can heal from the past by changing and accommodating your own behavior and your own priorities going forward. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now. This is why we see even now, like there just needs to be a little bit of modification point in making sure that you need to like energetically asking energetic permission right now. If someone has the bandwidth to have like a conversation or to do something, is going to be very, very important. Because what we're really recognizing and identifying is like, the problem with the energy in this way is like making an assumption that someone's in the same energetic place as you is the only thing that's going to potentially create what can feel it's really like it's like triggering, because we see even now that these energies, like the feminine and masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to right now, they're in very different grooves right now. Feminine was doing a lot of this internal like navigation like within this retrograde, and it feels even now like there's a little bit of that relief coming to the surface. So even now that could be expressed in the feminine being a little bit more energetically light today. So you can imagine going towards a masculine that still feels like they're pushing that same boulder up the hill that they were pushing yesterday. And like if you try to drop something small in front of the masculine today, they may feel like that's that amplification point. I told you, it's like they're like that straw that like broke the camel's back today, because it's almost that moment of someone like feeling like they're trying to do a lot of work right now energetically. And it's like that moment that like it almost needs someone to come through and say like, what can I energetically do to support you at this time? As opposed to being like, oh, can you also take care of this while you're at it? Like you have to just be a little bit energetically mindful in terms of like, I'd say like navigate the art of asking today. Ask before, because that's the difference of basically saying to someone, do you have the energetic bandwidth for us to like, to navigate forward on something? Because I see even now, like that's going to help facilitate the feeling between someone feeling like navigating something and feeling like the energy around them is helping them, versus navigating something and feeling like the energy around them is just making it more difficult, right? While for the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, this is almost that moment that we see that the energies are both like almost mutually experiencing it. But what are they energetically doing right now? The energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, they're being very energetically mindful in acting as clear energetic mirrors to one another, not wanting to overwhelm someone with their own energetic burdens, but almost looking at a circumstance or scenario and saying, what does someone energetically need, right? And that is that moment that even now we're recognizing that like, I want to say it's like, it's hard. I'm not going to say that it's not energetically difficult, because it's almost this moment that like both of the energies are inhabiting the same difficulties or hurdles. The only difference to a certain extent right now is the fact of like, I want to say, the amplification point. I just keep seeing like, it's almost like a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency saying to themselves to a certain extent, if this is feeling energetically difficult at this moment, remember that is like the one thing that we feel and know is that moment is almost energetically temporary. And so we see very much now, even now for a lot of the energy in this frequency, being able to navigate through something and say like, well, the only thing I can tell you with like certainty is I know that that energetic frequency is not something that maintains, but something that has to be kind of passed through. Like that is that moment even now that we feel like creates that sense of energetic relief, because that's almost that like that's almost like that energetic assertion, like that's that moment of saying like everything effectively changes. Well, that's a beautiful gift when you're in a moment that you feel like things are energetically difficult. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Devil card and our Star card. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Chariot. When things are hard, if things are hard, don't stop when things are hard. If things are difficult, that is not the time to stop. That's not the moment to be like, this place is awful, we should just stay here. Like that is that moment that almost feels like that amplification of continuing to move forward, if you will, right? Because we see even now, like that is that moment of like in the energy right now, in the divine union frequency, like what are they effectively or energetically saying in the heart of that energetic, like that energy, even as these energies are experiencing something that feels like a little bit energetically difficult. Feminine energy doing a lot of that internal introspection. Like this is the feminine energy doing a lot of that like introspective work. Masculine doing a lot of that work in the like the tangible space right now. So we see that for both of these energies, being able to navigate through that to a certain extent, like the motivating factor is almost that moment of saying, keep going. Keep going. And this is almost the feminine energy, like looking to the masculine if that's happening right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender and what it feels most aligned to. And almost saying to the masculine, like, I know it's energetically hard right now. This is the feminine almost saying, I energetically feel it. Like, this is the feminine being like, I know, I energetically feel it too. But we can do hard things. We can continue forward. Because that ability to almost say to the masculine at this time, like, you know, I feel what you are energetically carrying. I see what you're energetically carrying. And our ability to see and recognize what we are energetically carrying together, that is the gift and ability that we give each other that helps motivate us forward as we proceed forward from this point. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy right now in the heart of the divine union frequency, that is that moment that even when things feel energetically difficult, it almost motivates you to move forward with even more energy. Because this is the energy that feels that and goes, ugh, I don't want to stay here. Like, let's just keep going that way. Because this is like, that's that moment that almost says, like, again, looking at it and being like, I'm just going to move through this moment and continue forward in that space. And I know that that energy is effectively energetically temporary. So we see even now that that ability for the feminine to help the masculine through their own doubts and energetic fears to a certain extent. How is the feminine doing that? How does a feminine energy help a masculine energy through their own doubts and fears? A feminine energy that has the resiliency to confront their own doubts and fears, right? That's the feminine saying, I know you can do it because you help me do it every energetic day. So we see even now that that's that motivating factor of a lot of the energy continuing forward in that way. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency, this ability to recognize and identify, this is the problem right now for the energy coming into the divine union frequency is you don't energetically, you're still working on coming into that like attunement or alignment, if you will. So it's a little bit more easy for there to be communication hurdles or communication like breakdowns, because it's almost that moment that you haven't built that ability up yet to be able to kind of look at someone and know what they energetically need. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is that moment where, you know, there might be a little bit more of that, like, you know, even in the negative here, there's a moment of clarification, because there's almost this moment of, again, accidentally or inadvertently stepping on someone's energetic toes, if you will, right? Being like, oh, I didn't know, like, I don't know, someone being like, oh, don't put that there. I never put something there. And them being like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Like navigating these like moments to a certain extent. But again, the importance here is not letting yourself get reactive in those moments, but almost utilizing that path work in terms of articulating to someone, like if they've like hit if I'll put it this way, if they've energetically or spiritually hit like a no touchy zone, to basically best just say to someone like you've hit a no touchy zone, like as opposed to like letting that be a moment of someone like, you know, moving forward and like, you know, letting yourself get reactive in those moments. That's what facilitates that path work of being able to go forward effectively. While for masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, a lot of this that we're seeing has to do with the energy in separation. If this is feminine energy in separation, looking back at a situation, the past path work, wherein again, if you are doing something and you are looking at yourself from the past and going, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And the feminine goes, what do I need to change within myself? What do I need to change within myself? What do I need to change with myself? And suddenly feminine goes, if something, feminine is literally saying to themselves in separation, if something is not working like in a way that doesn't feel good, I shouldn't try to change it. I should just move away from it. Like this is the feminine energy having that like understanding point to a certain extent, and saying to the feminine, like the feminine's almost having that moment of feeling like being able to look back on something as they proceed on their journey, and with that new optics, because that's the feminine energies looking at something and saying, there wasn't a situation that I had to energetically change something. I don't see anything I could energetically change about how I navigated something. In fact, that's the feminine saying, the only thing that I did is I got out of range. I just was able to move away from something clear enough to understand that that was not a locationality or circumstance that felt like I was on the right energetic path. So we see now that feminine energy holding themselves to that higher level of preciousness to a certain extent is what is amplifying and allowing the feminine. This is the feminine saying, like, you know, that is the ability of allowing something to energetically heal, because that's the feminine effectively looking at something and saying, you know, I'm embracing the possibility of knowing that the direction I'm heading in. This is almost feminine already seeing signposts of masculine energy that's moving in that way, right? This is feminine energy that's utilizing this and taking a lot of immediate action in that direction. While for masculine energy in separation right now, this ability of potentially coming into alignment with your own feminine is helping you recognize and understand and see things in a way that you might not have seen things before. Your own ability to navigate and to heal your abandonment wound, not coming into a state of reactivity, but almost observing it. Again, it's not the fact that you can make the abandonment wound go away. The abandonment wound is always there. It's how you navigate it when it appears. And for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, what's so energetically beautiful is you're doing this because you're almost saying to yourself, I need to heal this. Because when I don't heal my abandonment wound, I hurt the people energetically closest to me. Because the people who are energetically closest to me bring out the intimacy over and over and over again. And if I'm not in healing, if I haven't come into the heart of intimacy, then in a moment that I should be pulling someone energetically close, I will hurt them. I will harm them. I will push them away. I will protect my internal protective mechanism will rise up and hurt the people that I'm supposed to be energetically protecting. So for masculine energy to be able to recognize and identify those moments is again a moment that the masculine is almost saying to themselves in separation, I'm not just doing this for myself. I'm doing this for everyone I energetically care about, either the energy in the past who I may have inadvertently harmed through moving in a way that I did not see that, and for the energy that I am expecting to see on the way as I continue forward in my journey, because that feels like the amplification point of, again, being able to navigate forward with energy that feels like they're energetically safe to be in my own energetic frequency. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Page of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now, you know, in separation. You know, what's difficult about this to a certain extent is we're seeing and recognizing that for a lot of the energy right now that is in separation, this circumstance or situation wherein we see that, I feel like what's hard about this for a lot of, I got to point this out, for a lot of the energy in separation, you're potentially observing what can be best articulated upon as an unhealed karmic wounds, right? And that's that moment of potentially feeling, and it's going to have a little bit of a different impact right now. for masculine and feminine energy, because again, recognizing and understanding why something couldn't energetically work doesn't necessarily like remove the care or the love that you feel towards another energy. You know, one of the things we're seeing here is it's hard because this is that moment for the feminine and masculine in separation, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. You know, feminine feeling that energetic connection to a masculine, feeling those moments of feeling like the feminine gave a lot to the masculine, and the eye of the masculine, and this is the problem of the feminine working through this as they continue forward in this way. This is the feminine energy that's looking back on something and saying, I don't understand what was happening. Like that's the feminine looking back and going, I don't understand what was happening. Because that's the feminine almost saying to themselves, again, I can't tell if that's a masculine energy that recognized and identified and knew that that I was overgiving to a situation and they weren't energetically meeting me there, or if that was a masculine that was too energetically afraid to be able to come into their own sense of intimate, like of the heart of intimacy, to be able to build upon me with like in that way. And that's the feminine energies almost saying to themselves again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't energetically matter if that was a masculine that was energetically aware of whether they were doing that or if they were energetically clueless, unfortunately. And that's what's so difficult or painful for the feminine energy in that way. That is the feminine energy, again, feeling the open wound of the past that they need to carry back when they learn these energetic lessons and say, I guess I'll never know. I guess I'll never know. Right? That's the feminine having to like navigate forward. And that's why the feminine energy is almost learning that karmic lesson of saying it doesn't, you know, I would like, that's the feminine saying I would prefer to know because that would allow a little bit of that karmic healing as it were. But the feminine's like, I have to assume that either one of those possibilities was energetically existing there. But either way, it doesn't matter because the results are the same. A masculine energy that is either like intentionally not healing or isn't aware of the ability to like, or doesn't like, or hasn't moved or is too afraid to energetically heal. It's the same. It results in the same thing. For masculine energy, if you're in separation right now and you're recognizing and realizing these things, you're probably recognizing and understanding that the feminine is holding that too. That the feminine looking towards masculine energy, if this occurred and you're coming into that healing point and you're having these breakthroughs, you're like, feminine doesn't know which side I fall upon. If I was doing that from a place of not understanding the self, or if I was very intentionally moving in that way. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine, this is that sense, if you're healing, wanting to come into that capacity of healing, because saying to yourself and being like, you know, that's that moment that feels like, you know, that is like the weight of carrying something and saying to oneself, I don't want the feminine, I don't want my fear of saying my intentions to the feminine, my fear of intimacy that blocks my ability to tell the feminine what I truly desire, to have the feminine look at me from a state of energetic caution, feeling like I'm someone that they need to protect themselves from. Masculine and feminine energy in coming into divine union today. Again, just be very mindful in relationality to communication. Ask if someone has bandwidth before you ask if they're ready for something here, because this is really important that you don't overly obligate someone or put something on something. A lot of heavy energy and making sure that you don't assume. Don't assume today, okay? Because that moment or that modality of being like, I just thought this is going to be one of those moments I can always see, being like, you shouldn't have thought that. You should have, like, I'm getting here someone saying like, you know, like, and this is what I mean right now, the feminine feeling that, like, this is the feminine taking more of that activation of yesterday, masculine feeling a little bit of that heaviness. It could lead to some energetic confusion points. So just be a little mindful of that to a certain extent, making sure that I want to say, like, ask someone for ask someone for energetic consent before you assume to, like, before you, like, want to move into a conversation or obligate someone to something. Like, just make sure that you're energetically checking to a certain extent, because I'm telling you right now, there's a little bit of this prickliness that we're seeing and accidentally stepping on toes, okay? Masculine and feminine energy that's in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This has a lot to do, this just has a lot to do right now with navigating through, like, this is the thing, the energy and the divine union frequency, they're both energetically carrying this heaviness to a certain degree right now. It's just the fact that, like, again, the feminine and masculine energy like are doing, like they're very, I want to say they're very energetically mindful in helping one another through a lot of this dense energy right now. And a lot of that is, again, that same mindfulness that the energy coming into the divine union frequency is learning or working through right now. This is the energy at the heart of it that is effectively like they're very much more in a state or space where they're used to doing this for one another. But even now, we see to a certain extent that a lot of that energy, like a lot of this feels like the only thing about this with the, like I can see even now that this is almost the feminine energy, like saying to the masculine something along the lines of, you were like saying this to me yesterday. Like this is the feminine almost like reminding the masculine and saying to a certain extent, like, you know, this is that moment. If things are difficult, this is like this, like that's that moment that says keep energetically going. Like the way you don't stop when things are energetically difficult. That's absurd. When things are energetically difficult, that's when you need to like, that's when you really need to like move things forward to a certain extent. And we see even today, that's the feminine energy kind of jumping in and lending a little bit of that energetic assistance to the masculine at a moment that they're doubting their own self and their own energetic ability. Some days we got to grease the wheel a little bit harder, you know? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Judgment card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. One of the things that's hard right now is that there is this, I mean, this is the retrograde energy, my friends. This is what we see during the retrograde energy. This is typical. Communication problems, delays in communication, delays in plans. I told you, it's the moment, the modality, and I know like it's got the amplification right now of the intensity of the eclipse come down. That's like a heavy blanket effect to a certain extent, right? We've got that energy that we're seeing to a certain extent here, wherein it feels very energetically heavy. It feels very frustrated. It feels like you're waiting for something that like, you know, you're like, where is it? Why isn't it energetically happening? But we also see here the only advantage point that we're seeing here is that the feminine energy is more like it's a retrograde. This is the feminine energy that's navigating it with a little bit more adaptability, because the feminine energy is more energetically like aligned to the fact of saying it's the retrograde. And the masculine is more in that modality to a certain extent, where the masculine's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the masculine energy that's almost like, again, like this is masculine energy to a certain extent. That is like, is like, I'm even going to say, please, okay, I'm going to say this right now to some feminine energy. Do not say to masculine energy today, it's the retrograde, because even in that, like, that's the masculine energy that's like, that does not energetically help me right now. Like, I can even see the masculine energy saying, don't say it. They're going, don't say it, because this is the masculine energy that's like, again, they're in that feeling of being like, I can conquer anything. Don't tell me. Like, this is masculine energy that's basically saying to feminine right now in the divine union frequency, like, I can like, if the masculine energy is feeling a little defeated today, the last thing that the masculine energy needs to hear is feminine saying, the stars are out to get you. Like, do not say that to the masculine energy today, because that's literally like what they'll hear. If you go, it's the retrograde, all the masculine energy is going to hear is be like, even the stars are trying to stop you. Like, so just be a little mindful of that today, because what really needs to happen in this moment is just kind of saying to someone and saying, like, this is going to pass. You're having a moment, you know, give someone what they energetically need, instead of like, you know, like, that's that moment to a certain extent of basically like saying to someone and saying, like, you got this, keep going, we can push through this, you know, because the ability to like identify it outside, I told you, it's not going to be helpful. Like, this is just a moment that you need to act as an energetic clear mirror to a certain extent. Well, for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, I'm just going to say it again. ask before you ask before you, I'm going to say this, ask before you energetically like unload on someone right now. And I don't mean unload like in a negative way. I mean, like, if you feel like you need to talk to someone about something that's energetically heavy, lead forth first by saying, do you have the bandwidth to talk about something right now? Because you're probably going to hear a very strong no. Like, you're probably going to hear a lot of the feminine, might hear a lot of the masculine just giving a very strong, like, no. But again, if that happens, the advantage point that you can have with that is saying, okay, right? Is there another time wherein that will be a better time for us to have a conversation, right? Because that's the difference between feeling, and even now, like, that's what and masculine. If you say energetically no to someone because you legitimately feel the weight of the moment that makes it hard to talk about something, then say, I will talk, like, we can discuss this here. Because even now, your own ability to say no on something here, you need to match that by saying to someone, this is what, this is like almost, again, that's the moment that you show the feminine, even in a moment that you are out of spoons, that you're still present for the feminine, right? Because that's a moment of saying to someone, I am not here with you now, but I prioritize giving you what you energetically need, and this is the time that I'll be able to energetically give you what you need. So we see even now that these are how these energies coming into divine union can help facilitate moments where you may feel like you're in alignment, but you're in very different spaces or places. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, this is the energy right now of feminine, like, looking back towards circumstances or situations and saying to themselves, like, this is a lot of the energy almost saying to the feminine, like the feminine saying to themselves, if they wanted to, they would. 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 And that is that moment that we're seeing to a certain extent for a lot of that feminine energy, and saying, like, even if that energy is too afraid to, like, this is almost the feminine energy saying to themselves, if they had the courage, like, this is either feminine saying, if they wanted to, that they would, and if they had the courage to, they would. If they wanted to, they would, and if they had the courage to, they would. Both of them, even if it's something about someone not having the energetic courage, that's a feminine saying, it's the same. It's the same. And that's a feminine saying, and that's a feminine going, I can't energetically change something. That's a feminine finding an energetic problem that they cannot fix. Feminine is learning to heal the abandoned wound and saying, if the masculine energy lacks the conviction or has too much fear to energetically approach me, there is nothing on the planet, there's nothing I can do. I cannot reach into the heart of a masculine and give them that energetic courage. I cannot reach into the heart of the masculine and give them that energetic purpose. The only place, the only person that can touch that part of the masculine is the masculine. And that's the feminine feeling that sense of, like, this is grief. This is grief if feminine experiences this, because this is feminine saying, my hands are energetically tied. This is the feminine washing their hands and saying, there's nothing else I can energetically do, because that is something that is within the masculine that I cannot touch. While for masculine energy and separation right now, this is that articulation point that we're seeing to a certain extent in relationality to circumstances or situations wherein masculine energy, doing that deep energetic work, working to heal the self, having that moment of internal recalibration, looking at past experiences, having that sense of understanding of the self, but also recognizing and realizing, letting that build that sense of resolve and commitment in terms of intentionality of purpose that's helping you guide your pathwork forward in relationality to either healing an energetic connection from the past with a recognition point of what you can amend in the present, or letting that unhealed karmic connection from the past motivate your own ability to take that forward into the future to be able to facilitate a better connection with feminine as you proceed forward on your path. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Judgment card in its reversal in combination with our Chariot. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy that's in I want to say like the masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation. Like one of the things that we see right now, like this is the beauty of the retrograde period, because we're seeing here that a lot of karmic lessons are coming to bear right now in relationality to either creating that sense of feeling like you're clearing a karmic journey right now, or you're understanding something enough to motivate your own path forward. So for both masculine and feminine, for a lot of the feminine energy, this feels like a lot of path work that's just energetically clearing your own path forward right now. It's not the fact that the past isn't coming back up, but you're looking at the past and saying, I've done everything I can energetically do. The past is coming back up. You're going, I've done everything I can energetically do. And that's like letting you kind of move forward to a certain extent, because that's that valuation point in looking back on something and saying like, you know, I've done everything I can energetically do. While for masculine energy in separation right now, that modality is one where we're seeing that you're going through a situation or circumstance wherein you yourself are looking back, and it's almost like the opposite. And that's why I'm saying even now for a lot of masculine, you're looking back in the past going, there's something else I can do. There's something else I can do. There's something else I can do. And for both of these energies right now, that is how you're clearing a lot of that energy, because that's that moment that's allowing for the masculine energy to come forward in a way to be able to match and meet and find that higher version of self that is letting that sense of past regret motivate you forward and saying, I can find that better version of me. I can pull that out. I know what I need to do now, because I'm looking back at the past and I know what I want to energetically correct. So we see even now that moment for masculine being able to look back and say, I know what I need to change within myself to facilitate better energetic outcomes. That is helping that direction and either being able to heal something from the past or motivating you forward with that energetic lesson. While for feminine, this is a moment or modality that you're letting go of an energetic past if you're looking back and saying, I've done everything I can energetically do. Continuing to get clarification for energy right now coming into divine union frequency, this is that difficulty or the hurdles that you're learning in relationality to recognizing and discovering that you can heal all you want internally. It's when you start to try to heal with another that things start to feel a little clumsy, because that's that moment that we're seeing. That's why I keep getting this like stepping on toes energy today. Even when you're trying the best that you can to move forward in a way, being a little mindful of making sure that the energy around you is in the same state or space that you are. Like this is a little bit of learning, like having those like training wheels, if you will, in terms of recognizing and understanding the difference between, you know, what your intentions are versus how something is energetically received. And that's why we want to almost ask energetic permission right now as we're like navigating through any kind of like challenges or hurdles. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that's in the heart of the divine union frequency, this has a lot more to do with navigating through a lot of this energetic density, but being very energetically mindful, like you're already understanding this, not wanting to put an additional burden on someone at a moment that they're already feeling energetically burdened. So we see even now, like one of the things that is going to help in these moments is like that moment of doubt not being amplified and someone feeling like they're feeling a point of energetic exhaustion with like, you know, this is that moment that feels like the express moment of saying like we're energetically doing something together, right? And that amplification point, even now feeling that sense of energetic exhaustion, but almost feeling like that's that moment of pushing through together energetically, that is what is helping a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, because that is that energy that's almost reminding one another in these moments, like what they were energetically giving one another prior to this, that helps you in those moments. Like that's that moment that like almost says to oneself, like when things are heavy, when things are feeling like low, that's not the time to like stay there. That's the time to like move. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is continuing forward in that way by motivating each other forward to help like propel out of those like energetic funks, if you will. Right? Like that's that moment of saying like, let's energetically keep going, as it were. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 8 of Pentacles in its reversal and our 2 of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This is why we see even now a lot of this work feels like it's energetically difficult, because it does feel like it's feeding off of a lot of like the doubts or the fears or the anxieties in relationality to the masculine. Because what's happening right now, we're seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy, there's something about this period. I told you, the retrogrades, things start to slow down. Things start to feel like they're not moving like as easily as they typically do. And the masculine, it's very easy to internalize that and to say to themselves, I must energetically be doing something that's wrong. I must be doing something, like I must not be doing something in the way that I would aspire and desire to. And this is almost the feminine energy, like amplifying and saying to the masculine, if everything, like this is how the feminine energy is almost like helping the masculine through this right now. This is almost feminine, like looking at masculine right now in the heart of the divine union frequency, if this is occurring, and being like, were you doing anything, like have you changed how you've been moving? Have you been changed what you've been doing? Like if you were moving in a way that felt like it was energetically productive before, like that has more to do with the fact that this might have to do more with the energetic timing of a circumstance or situation right now, right? Because that's the feminine energy, again, acting as a clear mirror to the masculine. And almost saying to the masculine, you may be overly internalizing something that is energetically happening around you. So we see even now like that ability of feminine helping the masculine through their own energetic doubts and fears. What is the feminine doing? Not only are they helping them with that, but they're trying to help the masculine, offering energetic solutions. So we see even now that these are energies that, again, the feminine is giving back to the masculine, what the masculine often gives to the feminine when they feel like they're in these places and spaces. While for feminine energy right now, seeing the masculine in this modality may be one that you feel like to a certain extent you're just giving them back what they've been energetically giving you, right? That's almost that moment of the feminine saying, like, it's giving me a little bit of like, doctor, heal thyself, right? Because this is the feminine saying, I'm just giving you back what you gave me. This is what you've given me. I'm just handing it right back to you. Like, you needed this, now you've got it here. Here it goes. Here it is. Because that's the feminine that's almost saying to the masculine, again, this is a moment that this is a moment that feels like it's a circumstantial time. If you're feeling like that, just energetically wait. Continue to move through it. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union. What are we energetically discovering? We're seeing here that the problem around this has more to do with stepping on each other's toes energetically. There may be a lot of moments right now that may feel like they're very fraught with like accidental miscommunication, someone misunderstanding something, someone like doing something in a way that someone else doesn't typically like things done, because especially if these energies are trying to like move into a state of like better like energetic alignment. And so this is that moment. As long as you don't let this be a triggering moment, what happens when we have those modalities where there's miscommunications or misalignments? They become educational moments, helping to navigate and inform something to someone in a way that allows them to understand better. And we see even now, like making sure that you don't let yourself get energetically triggered through those is very valuable and important, because that's the difference of feeling something and feeling frustrated and almost someone saying like, I didn't know, versus someone being like, I know you didn't know, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to inform and educate you. Well, for masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, this is the feminine energy almost continuing forward with that energetic conviction and moving forward on their manifestation goal. And again, feeling some frustration as they do so, because this is the amplification point of the feminine, almost saying again, if it's not there, that's not the feminine energy coming into a state or space of saying, if something's not here, I'm not going to energetically wait for it. I'm not going to come into that state or space of saying, like, even if the masculine, like, this is the feminine saying, if this, I'll put it this way. If this is even a feminine going through a moment of being like, maybe this masculine's waiting to come forward to me. This is feminine going, that's the feminine going, no, like, that's even that point. Like, that's the feminine saying, like, I need the masculine energy coming towards me with intentionality of purpose. I need masculine energy that doesn't, play energetic keep away. I want a masculine energy that is intentional in terms of what they want with me. They know themselves enough that they move forward with that energetic confidence. So this is more of the feminine energy, again, almost reaffirming their own commitment to what they want by articulating in those moments and saying, well, this is what I don't want. Because when we build a manifestation, it's just as important to articulate what we don't want. And this is the feminine energy, almost looking back at the past as like a template in saying like, well, these are the things I don't energetically want. For the masculine energy, the problem is like you're not necessarily looking back at the past as a template on what you don't energetically want. If this is masculine energy that's coming into some point of energetic healing, you may be looking back at the map of your own experience and saying to yourself, my priorities were energetically different. And the problem is when we shift our energetic priorities, something that we feel like we wanted or needed, we may energetically feel we suddenly recognize we left somewhere in the past. So again, I'm going to say this again. If this is masculine energy that's going through this process, I want you to give yourself that energetic grace and remembering that as we continue to grow and change, like our own ability of seeing the past, it's not that we see the past with the clarity of the moment. The clarity of the moment is distorted with our own perception of the past. So you're effectively, if you're going through this, you are a different person than you were. You have energetically changed. So your own ability to recognize that you have energetically changed, I want you to navigate that with the sense of letting that help drive your purpose forward and not letting yourself get overwhelmed with some kind of feeling of energetic regret or feeling like you've energetically lost something. We don't lose anything. The present offers us the opportunity to gain whatever we need. We just need to have our focus focused on looking forward as opposed to looking backwards. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Cups. So this is very beautiful today because even in this moment that feels like it's energetically heavy, it is allowing for a return to that key focus point. You know, for feminine energy and masculine energy and separation, I'm going to say it again. The first directive of spirit is always, 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 always taking care of one's own emotional and spiritual self. Navigating forward, the best way that we can take care of others is being in a state or space that we are being able to take care of ourselves in that way. So we see even now like that moment of energetic restoration that's happening for a lot of the feminine energy. And this is what's helping heal. Even if there's a moment that you're feeling a lot of that intensity and relationality to like feeling energetically hurt. What happens when we hold on to too much energetic hurt from the past? We become the thing that energetically hurt us. There's no other way to say it. When we hold on to the energetic hurt of the past, what do we basically become? We become the thing that energetically hurt us. So we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy coming into that state, that's almost that feeling of like, you know, ferocity coming in. Then it's almost like that open palm, if you will, because that's the feminine energy saying like, I'm not going to let myself become energetically bitter. I'm not going to fill my energetic cup with poison, because if I fill my energetic cup with poison from the past, from what's occurred to me, all I've effectively done is I'm bringing that hurt from the past into the present with me. I'm carrying a cup of poison everywhere I go because I'm not able to energetically release the past experiences. So we see even now like that moment of the feminine energy almost saying to themselves, I'm going to release any of that energetic frustration. I'm just going to let it kind of pour, like I'm going to find the spaces and places that feel like it pours out of me in productive ways. That is the feminine energy almost again like cleansing themselves in the present by observing and acknowledging and saying like it energetically hurts, but I refuse to become a vessel that just holds the energetic pain. I'm going to instead let that be a moment of energetic release. While for masculine energy right now, this is that moment and modality wherein, again, if you're coming into a state or space where you're looking back on the past and you're feeling a lot of that energetic regret rising to the surface, your own ability in saying, I can't let myself get stuck focusing on the energetic past. When I get stuck on the energetic past, it pins me in place. It makes me non-productive. It doesn't motivate me forward. If I want something from the past, I need to move forward to be able to energetically find it. Or I need to be able to like let that lesson energetically serve me as I continue forward on my journey, because I don't know what else is beyond that, around that energetic corner. So we see even now that that's a lot of the energy, grounding in the moment and finding that sense of energetic restoration to help navigate your own journey. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energetic equivalent, if you will, for the energy coming into divine union in This is feeling a little bit more conflicted right now for the energy coming into divine union, because this is that moment that we see that like the energies may potentially be like, I didn't mean to, like, this is I told you, a lot of like stumbling, a lot of like inadvertent like bonking against like each other's like no zones to a certain extent. Like it's almost giving that moment of being like letting that serve if that happens, not letting yourself get triggered, but almost being very mindful to energetically educate someone in relationality if they feel like they've accidentally overstepped or done something that feels like it's like frustrating to you. Recognizing that everything offers us an educational moment. We see even now that there's something about this that feels like it's advantageous, and it's going to allow for something that feels like, again, even better productivity going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is just a lot of energetic compassion that you're giving each other during this time. For masculine and feminine energy, this is that moment that feels like you're just kind of building that sense of energetic compassion. And if it's feeling like it's energetically heavy, it's almost that moment of saying to one another, you know, like, we can navigate difficulty. We can navigate difficult things. All we need to do is allow that to be a moment that we continue to like focus on, again, that sense of continuing to keep that sense of like what feels energetically restorative emotionally and spiritually right now. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, there's a lot of that feeling of providing each other energetic hope. Because a lot of this to a certain extent, it feels like very, I want to say it feels like very energetically dense. But that ability of like creating that state or space of like giving someone what they energetically need at a moment that things are feeling energetically difficult. Like that's that moment that almost feels like a sense of being able to like build that idea that hope springs eternal. And that hope is what motivates and drives us forward, even when things feel very energetically challenging. Continuing, final card today in our spread between our King of Pentacles in its reversal and our Ace of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Seven of Wands. So masculine and feminine energy right now in the divine union frequency. One of the things that we're seeing is what occurs when we move through those modalities of energetically doubting ourselves. Like we navigate those hurdles, right? The most important thing that we're recognizing and identifying is not letting ourselves get caught in those moments, not letting ourselves get overwhelmed. But again, letting them be that moment of finding that energetic contentment point. That is that moment that feels like, and I even said, one of the things that we're seeing here, and especially with this Mercury retrograde period, is a point of understanding that sometimes we feel that intensification right before an energetic breakthrough. Sometimes it's darkest right before the dawn. Sometimes we feel that heaviness right before something like, something positive happens. So we see even now, like there's almost that energetic feeling right now that is helping motivate. Like this is what the energy in the divine union frequency is almost providing one another at this time, and basically saying to a certain extent, if you're feeling that anxiety point, that is exactly the time that you should continue forward. Because that's that moment that may be feeling like you're on the verge of an energetic breakthrough. And we're seeing even now that that's something that's happening right now for both masculine and feminine energy. The masculine is needing it a lot more today, is what we're seeing. So being able to like amplify that right now, for the feminine to be able to help amplify and remind the masculine of that journey, is going to be very valuable and important, because masculine is feeling the weight and heaviness of this retrograde cycle on top of the energetic heaviness of the eclipse come down. For feminine, again, like recognizing I need to again, and for the energy coming into divine union right now, just understanding, I'm just going to say, being mindful right now, not just giving something to someone or doing something for someone, but almost saying like to someone, what do you energetically need right now? Because there's a moment that I'm seeing that could potentially happen right now where, again, feminine's trying to assist masculine in this way, but it doesn't feel like it's an assistance point. Like feminine needs to make sure to work through right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Being very mindful of the difference between what you might feel like you need at a time that you feel like you're energetically overwhelmed versus recognizing that what the masculine might need at times that they're energetically feeling overwhelmed are very different things. So being able, if you're seeing masculine in that moment of energetic overwhelm, coming into that state or space of being able to lead with an inquiry, almost saying like, what can I do to support you right now? Like that's going to be very energetically helpful to a certain extent, because that's that moment that feels like that opportunity wherein, again, you don't accidentally like, give someone something and being like, I thought that this would help you. And someone being like, that didn't help me. You just made things more difficult. You know what I mean? So just make sure that you're asking, even if you're trying to help today, is what we're really seeing. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is in separation, what we're effectively or energetically seeing right now is, again, this is feminine energy that even if I'm telling you right now, it's not the fact that the feminine energy in separation is going through a lot of work and looking at the past. This is the retrograde period. This is the energy looking back at the past for the feminine, but this is the feminine energy almost looking, and if that was something about having some kind of energetic patience, the feminine's like, am I seeing it tangible here? Am I seeing that energetic change? Am I seeing that energy of the masculine that's come into that state of healing in terms of recognizing the ability to build forth with me? The feminine's like, this is again, feminine going, I'm manifesting energy that I know will be able to present that forth. And that's the feminine going, I don't need to reach out to masculine and say, are you ready to heal yet? Like this is feminine literally going, I don't need to reach out to masculine, even if I care about masculine. I can't go knocking on the masculine's door and being like, have you healed yet? Because that's the feminine saying, when that energy has healed, when that energy is healed, feminine's like, I'll be the first one to know it. Like there's almost a feminine saying, like, it will be self-evident. Like if the masculine can move towards me with conviction or move through the fear of intimacy, the feminine's like, I don't need to worry about missing it because I won't energetically miss it, because that's the whole point. The feminine's like, I will know it because the masculine will approach me in a way that is like, you can't energetically miss it. They'll be like a masculine being like, here I am, I've healed, I understand now, here it is. Like that's the feminine almost saying, like, I'm manifesting that. That's the feminine, not even when they're feeling that frustration and anxiety and doubt, it's more of a moment of frustration, because the feminine is almost looking and being like, I guess they're not coming. I guess they're late. I guess they're not getting, I guess they're not healed. But that's not the feminine waiting. That's the feminine that's continuing to move forward, and being like, if they can catch up, they can catch up. Like, well, for masculine energy in separation right now, this is that feminine, and like, this is a moment, some of the masculine energy, if you're in separation, and I don't want you to feel like this right now, you may be feeling like you're playing a little bit of energetic catch up. But again, we're never, if you have arrived, I'll put it this way, if you have arrived at the moment, you're always on time. If you have arrived at the moment that you say, I'm too late, nope, you're right on time. You're right on time. Because the moment that you come into recognizing and saying, I'm too late, is the moment that you look at something and say, I have energetically changed. I've energetically changed enough that I'm suddenly recognizing and I'm reprioritizing something, and I'm feeling like I energetically lost something. That's exactly the moment that you're suddenly seeking. That's suddenly the moment that you're energetically able to find something, because that's the moment that everything is possible, because you have that path work. You have that purpose. Saying, I've lost something, saying I'm late for something is building pathwork of purpose, because suddenly you recognize, the better question is recognizing and realizing what that is, because that is your energetic pathwork and purpose. So you're always, and I'll stress this, what do you think having path and purpose is? It's always feeling like you're running a bit late. Right? Like that's why it's a journey. That's why it's always going to feel like that, because it's always that moment that you're feeling like that sense of wanting to do it more, because you're always wanting to pour that energetic equivalent into it. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy of the masculine working through that, like that's allowing for that sense of energetic breakthrough, because it's a moment of saying like, I lost someone, I lost something, that you suddenly say, I know what I'm energetically looking for. Right? Bottom of the deck on this reading is Ace of Wands. So masculine and feminine energy across all of the frequencies right now, there's a lot of navigating that feeling of inspiration. And the reason that we have to be very mindful about like that spirit of inspiration is sometimes when we're not able to channel that spirit of inspiration in a proper way, it can feel very overwhelming, right? Especially in periods like now, because we're seeing even now with like the energetic heaviness of the eclipse in combination with the Mercury retrograde period, it can feel very much like it's hard to move energetically forward in this way, because it's almost that moment that it feels like the tangible circumstances are like blocking that creativity force. But we're seeing even now like your own ability, like allowing that sense, allowing that feeling of like this is the difference between allowing the feeling of frustration to override the feeling of inspiration. I know you guys hate it, but frustration and inspiration are the same energy. Love and hate are the same energy. Frustration and inspiration are the same energy. It just matters how you carry it. So being able to take something that is energetically frustrating to you and say, I'm going to let this inspire me, is what is going to help you move a lot through some of this energy right now. And I know how difficult that is. I know I get annoyed me even saying that, but finding a way to be able to take that and move it into that space is what is going to help you effectively, like have a little bit, I'll say this, have a little energetic compassion for your frustration. Start from there. Say, I'm allowed to feel frustrated right now, but I'm going to let that energetically motivate me. And ta-da, you've got inspiration. I'm allowed to feel energetically frustrated, but I'm going to let that motivate me. And ta-da, you've got inspiration. Okay? Across all of the channels. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off you can take 10% off on any of my readings. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And just a reminder for anyone who's joining us today, first and foremost, I'd like to let you know that I want to thank you guys so much to everyone who has filled out the survey. We have reached the initial goal of 50 people filling out that survey. So we are going to go ahead and offer that free 15-minute reading. But I'd like to increase that to 100. So if we can get another 50 people to fill out that survey before Friday, I would like to include, on top of the 15-minute reading that I'm offering, I will also include a free 30-minute reading that I'm offering to anyone who fills out our travel survey. All you need to do to enter that giveaway is head over to the link in my bio and fill out that travel survey. So basically, I'm looking about potentially doing some location, destination tarot retreats in the coming months. I would love to get your feedback on where we should go. It'll take you exactly 2 minutes. If you've already filled it out, thank you so much. It means the world to me. If you know someone who might want to take it or might like to enter to become a part of that contest, I would definitely encourage you to potentially send it to them. Second of all, I'm very excited to announce that we had our first class last night on the Fool card. As you may know, we are doing classwork now over on my Substack. Our monthly class program is a place where you can learn all about the tarot. All you need to do to become a part of those classes is subscribe to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. That subscription will allow you access to all of the live classes. We're doing a free live class every month, as well as a recording of the class if you can't be there in person to attend the class. I'll also be submitting, allowing you to have access to all of the materials and the coursework for each of those classes, as well as having inclusion in a private chat where you can ask me any questions in relationality to your own tarot journey or anything that I brought up in that classwork. Also, if you become a founding member to my Substack classes, what I will also include is a free 1-hour mentorship reading with me, wherein we'll take a look at where you are on your own tarot journey, assess what we can best do in terms of helping to facilitate your own pathwork and relationality to utilizing the classes to the best energetic advantage as to where you are in terms of your own education level. I'd like to stress that one of the nice things about the way that I've created these classes is I feel like they'll be very energetically useful to both people who are just beginning on the tarot journey as well as those who may be seasoned readers. So I encourage you to join me there, and thank you to everybody who joined in that first class. Our second class will be on the Magician, and that class will be on May 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope that you'll join me there. And even if you don't join those classes, I encourage you to follow me over on my Substack, graystrega.substack.com, to keep informed on anything new that we're doing, giveaways, new classes, etc. That said, I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we will do this again